creepy tone. I'm walking down the street and I'm gonna play this in Halloween. Like this is like a solid Halloween song.
It's terrible.
Doom 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 doom. Ooh, fans, ladies and gents, like listeners, you guys hear that? It's February 19th, so that music is appropriate.
Will you please just introduce us so that way we can get on with this?
All right. I'll stop it. Whew. Ladies and gents, listeners, subscribers, newcomers, welcome to the Short Box Podcast, Jacksonville, Florida's premier comic book and pop culture podcast. I'm your host, Badr Milligan, and I got my right-hand man, Cesar Cordero.
Hello, sir. It's a lovely day to watch Daredevil.
Absolutely, man. It's Friday night. Season 3 just came out. We've been excited for this for the last couple weeks. We've been doing nothing but reading Daredevil comics, pretending that we're blind. Yeah. Did we?
Did you just say pretending that we were blind?
You didn't? You weren't pretending? Look, ladies and gents, Daredevil, Netflix holds a real special place in me and C's heart. We've joked about it a couple times. It was our first, when season 1 came out, it was our first, we were actually in Europe on a deployment, our first deployment, and my first time out of the country. We were both, worried we weren't going to be able to watch the new Daredevil series and all that, but it worked out, and the first time we ever watched Daredevil, we had a giant adult man slumber party.
We were fresh-faced, we were young. We didn't know what we were doing. We decided to try and binge. We didn't even have to binge it.
No, not at all. It
was the weekend when it dropped, and we had the next day off. We could have enjoyed it like regular human beings, but
we somehow managed to watch 13 hours in 10 hours in some weird way. And you know what?
It's a time zone thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So, built-in memory of Daredevil Season 1. We did the same thing for Daredevil Season 2. Luckily, we were both, back in the States. We actually watched it at your house, and I think we were a little smarter. We actually kind of broke it down.
We managed to watch it until we got a headache. I don't know if that was smart or not, and I don't think that's the way Netflix should be consumed.
There should never be a health hazard when you're enjoying, a TV show, and we did the complete opposite.
Side effects should not include not enjoying the show you're watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, these 2 last seasons of Daredevil have held a special place in our hearts. I know we've given them their just dues and an enormous praise throughout our time recording this show. Season 3 is here now, and we decided, hey, instead of kind of doing our whole, wait till everyone watches it, finishes watching it, how about we kind of record our thoughts as we go? That way it's fresh, it's right there. You kind of get that media impact. And we also wanted to try to do some video. So if you're listening to this in podcast audio format, there is an accompanying video for every episode. It'll be up on our YouTube page. So if you go on YouTube,
God willing, God willing, we'll see what happens.
Look, we could have easily finished at least half of this season if we weren't fiddling with cameras and apps and software. But
let's be honest, half of the season would have been done by now, with our eyes bloodshot while we eat Chinese food. Do you know how bad this is? You just made a comment about, we even blinded ourselves. So it's do we just get shittier as people? We get racist. We were let's watch Luke Cage. I was bet, I'm getting fried chicken and Coke 45.
That Crimson M, it makes us do and say stupid
The
things.
Opposite of what Marvel stands for.
Exactly. But we just finished watching episode 1, and man, that was one hell of an intro.
Oh yeah.
A lot of heavy themes discussed right off the bat. How do we start? Where do you want to go for this, man?
So let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
The beginning is when we last left Matt Murdock. Okay. He was in the building at Midland Center what are we doing?
Oh, the water, please.
Oh, sorry. Forgive me. Enjoy your delicious water. We were at the Midland Circle. It blew up. He had Lecter in his arms, and as far as everybody knew, he was dead. The show left off with him at the church, at the cathedral. And essentially, he's jacked up. His radar sense is gone. Basically his entire face is swollen.
Literally blind in his case.
He is actually senseless, which is not a good thing, because for a hero that relies on his senses so heavily, it's put him right back at square one where he can't even walk to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny hearing you say that. Daredevil back at square one, and you'd imagine he'd always be at square one with someone that lost their sight, but no, that's how much more powerful his other senses were. It's always kept him away from square one. Now it's like, nah, because you decided to make out with your girlfriend in a destroyed building as a building is coming down on you. No surprise that you are absolutely wrecked. Off the bat, we get introduced to. Is this our first introduction to Sister Maggie? I'm sorry.
Sister Maggie,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, aside from I think season 1, where they show a really, really, really blurry version of a nun. They hadn't even cast her yet, but nothing like what we're seeing as far as this season is concerned.
And see, help me out here. Not just me, but maybe some of the listeners that might be a little confused. In the Daredevil MCU. Continuity, does it follow pretty similar to the comics where Matt's mom, left him, became a nun. His father's the one to raise him. Is that the same way in the MCU? Do they make any reference to his mom?
Dude, honestly, we have yet to see. Okay. I think that's one of the questions that they're going to answer as far as this season is concerned.
Because the way they talk in this first episode. It's like they've known each other for a good bit. She makes reference to him as a kid. You were scared of him as a kid, just like these kids are now. You were a troubled child as well. So I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, so Matt is familiar with her in the school that he's at or whatnot. That's my best kind of guess. But man, in the comics in Born Again, it was our first introduction to Sister Maggie as his mother. In Born Again specifically. He makes kind of a monologue about the importance of a person's heartbeat and how you can kind of tell if they're lying because it skips. And there's a scene in Born Again, one of the middle issues towards the end, where he just kind of bluntly asks her because she smells very similar to another scent. When he first got blinded, a very nice woman's voice came and said, "Hey, you'll be fine, and this is a gift." He asked Sister Maggie in the comic books as he's healing up after his fevers broke, "Are you my mom?" And the panel shows her smirking. She got a smile. She's like, "No." And then it ends with she's lying. It's really endearing. So it's cool to see this version of her where she's just as witty, just as tough as his father or even him. I like the characterization of her so far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that Irish Catholic. That no nonsense sort of mentality that she just kind of shows up on the scene and is ready to dish out not just her version of tough love, but love, period. Yeah. Like she said it. She's like, I've been a nun for 30 years. Like I know self-pity when I see it. Mm-hmm. And it's like she has the rapport with him to talk real, but at the same time, you wonder how much of it is because she's his mother, and she's a little bit invested in who Matt is.
She's very good point because there are certain things that she says that. Seems like she's stepping over the boundaries that I would expect like a nun or a sister. Like it was very like the compassionate, a deeper meaning of I care about you idiot. What do you lay the hell back down?
Right.
See, and I want you to kind of go into more of the religious tones if you could, just because you're way more well versed. But I do want to say that
no pun intended.
I do want to say that off the bat they had two pretty good examples of the unity in Hell's Kitchen, which I found it weird that that this unity about the community is so prevalent in this school, this religious school in the middle of Hell's Kitchen. I mean, the dude that brings Daredevil in, even says he's one of ours. We look out for him, and even Father had said he's one of ours. So it's cool to see everything that Matt's put sacrificed. There's that people recognize and they appreciate that.
That's something that's a New York thing, man. I know you've been up there a few times and you've seen that everybody's in such a small, crammed spot that you got to learn to make peace with your neighbor, regardless of what they believe, what they hold dear, the different values. It's all part of what makes that city, and Hell's Kitchen is no exception. And the cool thing is about we were introduced to a pipeline being broken at the local mosque, so the Catholic Church is like, yo. Like they're going to be holding services over here. And Matt Murdock's like, is that Arabic I hear? He's like, yeah. It's like, Hell's Kitchen. We take care of our own. That's awesome. Like, I love that. I love it, and it kind of ties into why I like Daredevil because, Nightcrawler is one of those characters where, he's got his faith, it's part of him, but like, it's not really woven heavily into the story. Like, Daredevil's faith is woven so heavily into who he is as a character that the imagery it's astoundingly obvious, but also not. It's not hacky. Like when he falls off the bed and Sister Maggie's holding him, it calls back to the picture of the Madonna holding Christ. In this very episode, you saw a scene where both Karen and Foggy are describing, pretty much, they're having the same conversation that some of Christ's disciples had after he had died. Like, no, I saw him, he's alive, he's walking around, and you have like somebody like the Apostle Thomas, St. Thomas is like, until I see the holes in his hand, I'm not going to believe you. And here's the crazy thing. So, of all the characters in the New Testament, so quote unquote, Thomas is my dude because everybody's like, doubting Thomas. Everybody knows about doubting Thomas. What they don't know is that in the Gospels, he's probably the one that is the closest to Jesus. And this ties into Foggy Nelson. Peter, everybody knows St. Peter. There is a story in the Bible where basically a whole bunch of villagers and people were going to beat the shit out of Jesus and his disciples. And Peter was the one that was like, yo, maybe we should get out of here before they kill us. Doubting Thomas, is the only one who said, so what if they kill us? I'm here with, basically is like, look, if Rabbi says we stay, Jesus, if he says we stay, we stay. And if we die, then I died with my best friend. Basically, is what it comes down to in like modern. So, the idea that everybody thinks, oh, Thomas is such a doubter or whatever. The idea comes from like, no, it's that he lost his best friend, and for someone to even be like, yo, I saw him walking around, hurts so bad. Where it's like, man, how could you even say that? Like, do you understand how much that hurts me for you to say that? It's not like, oh, I don't believe you. That's not funny, man. That's the tone it has. Foggy is in that exact same spot where Karen's like, I feel that he's alive, and blah, blah, blah. And Matt was his best friend. So he's like, don't you think I want to believe that? Don't you think I want to believe that? And the idea that this episode is called Resurrection, and Matt has always been the more merciful of the heroes. For God's sakes, he's a lawyer that doesn't kill. The death penalty is in our laws, dude. But he doesn't buy into it. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like, Punisher is like, you're a half measure, I hit them, they stay down. And Matt's always been like, who are you to decide somebody's future? People can't change. Second chances, third chances, fourth chances, they exist.
We find Matt, though, a lot different than what we had seen him as, kind of like that social justice warrior that, and I use that, probably the wrong term, but just that man of faith, and that man that was very cemented in his morals. But we see Matt like not just physically broken, but I mean, it seems that his spirit has also been broken. I mean,
so that comes into play as well. Like, so you look at it as, so if Matt is the Christ figure in the Marvel universe, then when Christ died, according to Scripture, he actually went down. And this is like part of the mythology, is that he goes down into hell. He descends into Hades and basically takes the keys of death and overcomes it, right? But he has to go to hell first. And this isn't something that is just exclusive to the New Testament. Matt Murdock also refers to himself as Job, if you remember.
Yep.
Where basically the idea behind Job is that God tortures the hell out of this dude, and until it basically is proven that he doesn't curse God. Like everybody, all his friends are like, just curse God and die.
Mm-hmm.
And,
he doesn't break.
And Job doesn't break, right? And Matt compares himself to Job, which is interesting because, like I said, if you look in not just the Bible, but in the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu scriptures, there's a story where this charioteer, you think he's like a lowly kind of guy, whisks this soldier up into the heavens. And it turns out this small, low-level charioteer is the Hindu version of God. It's Shiva. And he basically shows him the big picture and says, this war you're fighting against another nation, it's the smallest thing going on right now. I'm about to blow your mind and show you how the universe works. And that happens with Job. And sometimes it can break somebody. Sometimes people aren't ready to see that. Sometimes people don't like the way the universe looks from high up, and it makes them question, it makes them doubt, and turns them into either a bitter person or a person who redefines himself, who, if you will, gets born again.
You know, I feel like with watching just Matt's scene, it was kind of, or Matt's scenes, it was kind of like a roller coaster, because we start out him mangled up, in bed. It's kind of like, wow, this is our introduction to Matt after waiting a year long. Actually probably more than a year, 2 or 3. And then I think we both got pretty excited when we saw him back in fighting form. Like,
for sure.
He had that sweet Rocky like. He had that sweet Rocky like training montage.
A man.
And then we got that freaking church fight club scene going on.
Oh, dude! First rule of church fight club: punch a blind guy. That's the first rule, apparently.
Like, that dude is real reluctant. At first, he's like, "You want me to punch a blind dude?" And went straight for it, like two good ones. It's like, wow.
Dude, Father Latham grabbed some Puerto Rican dude off the street and was like, "Yo, when's the last time you went to confession?" He's like, it's been a while. And he's like, all right, well, instead of saying Hail Marys, I need you to beat the crap out of this blind lawyer for like a couple rounds.
So, I mean, training montage, I think we both were getting hyped. Like, yeah, all right, Matt's already, getting back into the swing of things. He gets a little humbled by his boxing exercise. And then we find him, disregard everything that, Sister Maggie's warning him. Hey, take it slow. Even maybe his own body is telling him, hey, I'm not up to like 100%. But he can't help but be the hero. And we fast forward into what looked like, an abduction or something going on where he's fighting thugs in the damn, dry cleaning van. Gets his ass whooped, and man, I think the scene that we both like kind of gasped pretty hard was when he got on his knees and seemed to be begging to get killed.
For a Catholic, that's a big deal. It's a mortal sin. You can't get forgiven for suicide, And he says it like he's like, God forgive me. He says it real quick, and then the guy's like, come on. He's like, come on, do it. Like, Daredevil is suicidal. Like, and again, he compares himself to Job. It's the same thing. Job takes ashes, he shaves his head in defeat and in mourning over his family, and he pours ashes all over his head, and he says, God, it was better if I had never been born, and here we have Matt in the same situation where he's like, if I can't have happiness as Matt Murdock and Daredevil was my only purpose, then I'd rather die as Daredevil,
I do like the shout out to I'm a reference Born Again a lot because I read it prior to this, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot.
It looks like that's where they're going, man.
Shoot, the damn eviction notice that Karen.
Yeah.
First of all, I need to go ahead.
We're gonna do it.
I need to give me a Karen page that'll pay my rent while I'm away in New York City. Like, let's make that sure that's a statement. She's paying his rent while he's healing up in New York City, and we get that eviction notice, and that got me hyped because in the first issue of Frank Miller's Born Again. That was like the seed to his downfall. He got a letter,
he had brown people problems.
Yeah. What did you say earlier? You said,
dude,
Born Again is basically...
we were laughing because we were both reading Born Again, and it was like, Daredevil has brown guy problems for 5 minutes, and he's like, my faith, who am I? I can't be Daredevil. Meanwhile, like you and I are like, that happens to us all the time, fool. What are you talking about?
Oh man, let's go ahead and wrap up with Wilson Fisk. We don't get a lot of screen time with Wilson Fisk, but once again, even like the small amount of screen time he gets is so like it just demands your attention.
Oh, for sure,
demands your attention.
The performance, man, dude.
He doesn't say
D'Onofrio
much.
is so good.
He's a master at that dramatic pause.
He's a master at nose breathing. You look at the camera, you see him. I am a man.
As prideful...
Who has made mistakes.
As prideful, dangerous, strong, smart, cunning he is, it's it's kind of endearing to see him like the one thing that he will bend for is Vanessa. The fact, you know, when his lawyers come in and that's the one thing he can't solve, and it happens to be the woman he loves.
It's always been that way, you know. Like that's
about to snitch. I was
Dude.
like, oh, what?
It's the kingpin.
Snitching? Oh, damn.
You know what though? Is it snitching when you rule everything though?
Good question, C. Good question.
I had to lean back like that actually mattered. Thank you for catering.
You're welcome, buddy. I got you. But I think so. We're at the 20-minute mark. I think that's a pretty good overview of episode 1. I want to start getting really into the season. So next time you hear our voices, it'll be for episode 2 recap. So stay tuned, folks. Thank you.